Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are exploring a truly profound connection. It's one that dictates not just how we think and feel, but how we literally survive on a cellular level. We're going to map out the intricate, energetic relationship between our mind, our physical brain, and our cellular biology. You know, the processes that keep us healthy or kind of falter when we get sick are often called mind-body processes. But have you ever wondered how a completely subjective thought in your mind actually translates into physical energy use in your body? Well, the answer lies in a hidden biological supply chain working tirelessly behind the scenes.
To really wrap our heads around this, we got to start with a staggering statistic. The brain hijacks a massive 20 to 25% of our body's entire energy budget. I mean, think about that for a second. It's like having a tiny roommate who takes up, maybe 2% of the apartment, but uses a quarter of all the electricity. It creates this permanent, high-stakes energy demand. And here's the kicker. The brain doesn't really have any meaningful energy stores of its own. So it relies on a continuous, perfectly managed delivery system just to keep you conscious, thinking, and alive.
Okay, let's dive into this. How exactly does the body manage such a massive energy demand? It pulls it off through the neuroendocrine system. Think of this as your body's ultimate supply chain and command center all rolled into one. It's the biological interface right where the nervous system and the endocrine system meet. This network integrates internal signals like, say, your blood sugar levels, with external signals like the temperature in the room or even a stressful event at work. It takes all that data to induce adaptive responses. Its main job? Maintaining homeostasis. It essentially dictates how every single cell in your brain gets, stores, and burns energy molecules. To really appreciate how cool this system is, it helps to contrast its two halves. The nervous system acts like lightning-fast electrical wires. It allows for the rapid transmission of information across the body in mere fractions of a second. We're talking immediate effects. On the flip side, the endocrine system uses hormonal messengers traveling through the bloodstream, so it's designed for widespread, longer-lasting actions. When these two join forces, they complement each other perfectly. You get rapid electrical detection of a need, followed by sustained, cellular-level hormonal action to actually unlock the energy to meet that need.
All right, let's move into part 1, the Neuroendocrine Command Center. Deep inside your brain, this entire operation is run by a specific structure called the hypothalamus. This little guy coordinates the electrical signals of the nervous system with the chemical messengers of the endocrine system. You can basically think of the hypothalamus as the body's master thermostat. Just like a thermostat on your living room wall constantly reads the air temperature and kicks the AC or heat on, your hypothalamus is constantly reading internal and external signals. Are you hungry? Are you freezing? Are you totally stressed out? It takes all this info from higher brain centers and tweaks your hormone levels to keep everything in perfect balance. It's the ultimate coordinator, linking how your brain perceives the world directly to your body's hormonal response.
Which brings us to part 2, fueling the fasting mind.
So if the brain is this absolute energy hog, burning a quarter of our fuel, what happens when the fuel stops coming in? Like, how does this neuroendocrine thermostat keep the brain online when we're starved of food? Well, during early fasting, the brain relies almost entirely on glucose, mostly pulling from glycogen stores in your liver. But, those stores inevitably run out. To save our essential muscle proteins from being broken down for energy, the neuroendocrine system pulls off a massive metabolic transition to preserve our survival. It shifts the whole body to fat burning. Now, the brain can't use fatty acids directly, so the liver converts that fat into ketones. By 24 to 36 hours of fasting, ketones totally take over as the primary fuel source, keeping the brain fully powered up even without glucose. And this brilliantly illustrates that this fuel shift doesn't just happen by magic. It is tightly orchestrated by a hormonal symphony. Insulin levels drop, which tells the cells to stop storing fuel. Meanwhile, glucagon, epinephrine, and cortisol levels rise. These are the master conductors right here. They stimulate glycogen breakdown to release early glucose and then rapidly ramp up fat breakdown and ketone production to provide that crucial alternative fuel for the brain. It's just a perfectly timed endocrine response, all designed to keep the lights on in your mind.
Moving right along to part 3, the energetic cost of stress.
We've seen how this system works beautifully for physical survival, right? But in our modern world, we're constantly facing mental stress. And honestly, the brain can't easily distinguish between the physical threat of a predator and the psychological threat of a looming deadline. So when you experience psychological stress, it kicks off a chain reaction known as the HPA axis. Here's how it goes down. Step 1. Your hypothalamus perceives the stress and releases a hormone called CRH. Step 2. This signals your pituitary gland to secrete ACTH. And step 3, that travels all the way down to your adrenal glands, prompting them to pump out cortisol. Cortisol is an absolute endocrine powerhouse. It interacts directly with cellular receptors to mobilize glucose and fatty acids, flooding your system with immediate energy. But this comes at a very high biological cost.
So, the crucial point is that psychological stress doesn't just stay in your head. Subjective mental states are rapidly transduced into measurable, multi-system biological and energetic responses. Just feeling distressed increases your heart rate in seconds, spikes those cortisol and glucose levels in minutes, and can actually change cellular behavior over hours and months. All of these stress responses consume massive amounts of energy. And where does that energy come from? It's derived from the microscopic powerhouses of our cells, the mitochondria.
This brings us to a really fascinating concept in endocrinology called mitochondrial allostatic load, or MAL. When you're chronically stressed, your HPA axis is constantly firing, demanding more and more energy. This places a massive added energetic cost and biological wear and tear directly on your mitochondria. Think of your mitochondria kind of like a smartphone battery. If you leave all your apps running on high power in the background, fueled continuously by chronic stress hormones, the battery degrades a lot faster over time. You are quite literally wearing down your cells by hijacking their energy at the microscopic level just to fuel your anxieties.
And here is exactly why this matters so much to your long-term health. As the source material points out, stress responses can divert energy away from longevity-promoting growth, maintenance, and repair. Because, guys, energy is finite. If your neuroendocrine system is constantly directing mitochondrial energy to fuel a chronic stress response, that energy is definitely not being used to repair DNA, maintain healthy tissues, or support your immune system. This energetic diversion is exactly why chronic stress accelerates aging and drives all sorts of disease cascades throughout the body.
Finally, let's look at part 4, restoring neuroendocrine balance.
But don't worry, this isn't a totally tragic story. There is actually hard science behind how we can reverse this energetic drain and restore harmony. Take meditation, for example. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that far from just being a relaxing hobby, meditation induces profound physiological adaptations. It increases parasympathetic activity, the rest and digest side of your nervous system. By doing so, it directly lowers the output of stress hormones like cortisol and epinephrine. It even boosts melatonin secretion from the pineal gland, which stabilizes your circadian rhythms and improves restorative sleep. By engaging in these kinds of practices, you're consciously pulling those neuroendocrine levers right back to a healthy baseline.
Research shows these practices don't just briefly calm the mind, they promote actual, measurable neuroplasticity. We see enhanced functional connectivity in the prefrontal cortex and a reduction in amygdala reactivity, which means you literally rewire your brain to handle stress better. By reducing pro-inflammatory markers and improving oxidative balance at the molecular level, you're actually stabilizing your cellular biology and protecting those mitochondria we talked about. This restores your systemic homeostasis and builds deep emotional resilience.
We've seen how a tiny organ in your brain commands an energetic empire, how hormones step in to save us from starvation at the cellular level, and how the stress of modern life can completely drain our biological batteries. But we've also seen that we have a say in the matter. We can actively influence our own biological interface. So, I want to leave you with this final, powerful question to ponder. If our cellular biology and neuroendocrine systems so powerfully shape our states of mind, how will you use your mind today to shape your biology?